Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games. We've got Michael on a new brew. I believe it's a Green Sun Zenith control list. It's a brew. I mean, Life from the Loam, Uro, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Just a lot of the best cards in Legacy. And he's got a Force of Will to stop this Sylvan Library. Follows up with a Noble Hierarch, a little bit of acceleration. Swords to Plowshares to take care of the opposing Knight of the Reliquary. John hitting that Mox Diamond on the first turn, giving him some acceleration, able to deploy. Must deal with threats immediately there. Flamer. That does threaten to pull together Dark Depths combo if left unchecked. Can also create card advantage by tutoring up Flagstones as in his list. Get a little extra value. Our set, talk about value. Binding to Fury. Of the best planeswalkers ever, and another planeswalker here perhaps in the conversation for the best, Minskin Boo showing up. And that hamster token is bloodthirsty. Fury bounces the token, but that hamster is going to come back. Beginning of your upkeep, hamster time. This gets to plus. I mean, 4 mana, 4/4 with haste as it was. That used to be a very strong card. As it stands now, you also get one of the best planeswalkers ever stapled to it. Continually buff up your team, or just cash out the hamster for a fistful of cards. Turn John could potentially draw 4 cards if he wants. The following turn, 7. Build your own Gristlebrand. Just a couple of Noble Hierarchs standing in the way of this hamster onslaught. The card draw isn't always even really necessary. I mean, just making it into a 7/7 hitting and then flinging at your opponent will often just be lethal right there. Never mind the additional card draw. Very gruesome. Life from the Loam picked up 3 lands. Very just not able to stick around. So much loyalty on Minskin Boo as well, just continually ticking up. Michael needs an answer right now. Sylvan Library digs. See what he's got. Even if you handle the hamster, there's still that recursion. Goes for an Uro, gain some life, draw a card, but still not out of range. It's like a brainstorm, takes a look, and there's nothing to be found there. Minskin Boo making short work of that first game. Well, again, leading out with Noble Hierarch. Fixing mana. The Exalted Trigger, not as important. So a little bit of a mirror breaker. Your Uro's bigger. Sun Zenith grabbing that Dryad Arbor. We see how often in Legacy that first turn accelerant set the stage for the entire game. A turn or two ahead of your opponent. Life from the picks up a couple of lands, including Wasteland. Wrong card versus John, but actually attacking, not leaving mana up. Sylvan Library on the other side. That card was so important. It got Force of Willed from Michael John. Not have the option to fight on the stack for a card like Sylvan Library. Have to remove it afterwards, which potentially can be done. Don't know that he'd have enchantment removal post board. Go-to card here. Graveyard Hate more of a likely option. So far, we've seen Life from Malome, Burrow. There's the Minskin Boo. And as good as he is, that feels really bad. Paying 4 mana for a card, having it countered for just 1. Now, Michael brainstorming extra cards in hand, thanks to Life from Malome, Sylvan Library. Is exactly where he wants to be. Maybe not having that Sylvan Safekeeper on the other side would be a little bit more comfortable to free up all his removal, but pretty comfortable. Use Wasteland. Knock John down. John still no tutors like Elvish Reclaimer or Knight of the Reliquary, so Wasteland actually effective against him here. Both of those cards do make Wasteland a lot worse, as they can just sacrifice the targeted land in response very often. All the dual lands for Michael. And a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Another card that goes so well with Life from Malome. That draw 2, discard 2 is going to read much more just like draw 2. Discarding lands that you have so much access to. Skin Boo. See what he can do on this board. So plussing on the hamster. Got a 4/4 haste. Could be over next turn. Just, I mean, what a swing that card is. Or why those cards were shown. Treasure token. Created off of this goblin. And actually fucking with these. Trying to keep Minskin Boo alive. He is out of there, and at this point, Reliquary likely not going to be enough. This is pretty far gone. Slightly worse Kiki G thanks to Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Oh, and Teferi just mops things up. Bounce the creature. Turning sideways. We've got some exalted triggers. Knight of the Reliquary attempting to come back down. And Swords to Plowshares, so John's still fighting. Got Teferi's loyalty ticking up in the background. Really is kind of a ticking time bomb. Once you get that second activation and get the second card off of it, I mean, that's almost like a mercy rule. Game is so far out of hand at that point. John will have the play here in game number 3 in a matchup that seems very interactive. Not an easy matchup by any stretch. Historically, the control decks that feature blue tend to do better in the mirror, have the ability to say no on those absolutely key cards, things like Minskin Boo or an early Sylvan Library. All the difference. On the other hand, the card disadvantage from Force of Will, real problem if your hand is clogged up with too many copies. option trying to fight on the stack. If you don't have the ability to reload, you can find yourself really far behind, even if you've stopped your opponent's key cards, just from virtue of the card disadvantage that Forza will bring. Got to follow it up with something worthwhile. And then on the other side of that, John could potentially win without even casting a spell. Assembling Dark Depths as early as turn 3. Ooh, and a Leyline of the Void. That is going to stop a lot of Michael's value. We'll see if he has any type of answer to it. If not, Green Sun Zenith, X equals 1. Force a will on that. Line of the Void. Gonna shut down Uro, Life from the Loam, make that Fable so much worse. I feel like Teferi's the card that we're looking for now to get rid of this Leyline. It's gonna be a little bit harder to recast. There is a Mox Diamond in play. Double black, not impossible. The Reliquary, just a 3/3 right now. Nothing to worry about. Exile. Where his graveyard would usually be. Every exile of this game. In his own Minskin Boo. Wow, how do you like it? Making a 4/4. Not swinging. Not looking to get his Minsk erased by this Knight of the Reliquary. The Jiri Step. A Green Sun Zenith. X equals 1. Grabbing Sylvan Safekeeper. Clearing, leaving just the 4/4 hamster, which without the Minsk, not nearly as threatening. Knight of the Reliquary can easily handle himself versus a miniature giant space hamster. Towards the Plowshares. Gets brushed aside by Sylvan. I gotta wonder if that was just a hasty play there. I don't think it would be worthwhile to throw the swords at that point. Caracas bounces that famous hamster. He is, in fact, legendary. Paying some life. Extra card. Sylvan Safekeeper is super important in this matchup. John previously trying to Green Sun Zenith for X equals 1. Michael stopped it then. Able to get the Safekeeper on board a little while later. Now it is really earning its spot in the list. This Knight, really unkillable. Got a Wasteland. Jump blocking territory. Kiki Jiki. Backside of Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Not looking forward to meeting Caracas either. Roll decks do need to be tuned for the expected meta, and I'm not sure how well a really well-tuned list would potentially line up just in general with Naya Depths. I mean, you're really looking at decks like Blue-Red Delver, more commonly played things. Our set. Who's digging? Finds another Fable. Wheels keep turning, but A lot of damage. Firmly in chump block territory. Force of Will stops the other knight. Is that, I don't even know what Narset can find here. Like a Supreme Verdict? Oh, I guess that was a brainstorm during the upkeep, perhaps. Doesn't look like it is actually ticked down. Now she digs, and it's much Supreme Verdict or bust at this point, I think. A Ponder? That won't do. And that is a wrap and extended. And Leyline just really, I mean, not the type of card you necessarily think about versus control decks, but it really shut down a lot of what Michael was looking to do with this unique new list.